Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics. I am super excited to bring you a review of this. This is the brand new Fluval AC50. It is their brand new Aquaclear line. They've made some improvements. We're going to go ahead and unbox this. I'm going to tell you about what I think of this brand new filter. We're going to put it on a tank, and as always, we're going to come back to this after we've had it up and running for a while to see how it does. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. I have not unboxed this filter yet, but there is a lot going on here in terms of improvements and things that they have done to the Aquaclear filter. This filter, as many of you know, has been around for a very, very long time. The Aquaclears are basically a staple in the aquarium hobby when it comes to hang-on back filters. So redoing this filter or updating it, it's a little bit of a chance, right? Because a lot of people have had these filters, think very, very highly of them. We've done reviews on these filters before. I'll put them in the upper right-hand corner as well as in the description below if you want more information on hang-on back filters. So one of the things that's always been great about the Aquaclear filters is they are rather durable. So let me go ahead and get this box out of the way here. And we can see here right out of the box, again, this is the Aquaclear Fluval AC50. So this particular filter is going to be good for aquariums anywhere from 20 to 50 gallons. We actually have the AC70 in our fish room as well, and I am going to be doing a review on that in a not too distant future and testing that out as well. So overall, you can see here, I will put the size, the dimensions of the filter right there on your screen, but you can see here it's got that typical Aquaclear quality right out of the box. Hard plastics, nothing soft, nothing easy to break. You can see inside here, that was a piece that I'm going to have to put on, but you can see inside we've got our basket here. Now, one of the things that they've done is the lid itself has been redesigned. It is supposed to sit on the filter a little bit more securely and a little bit more quietly. Some of the old Aquaclears, as many of you know, when you had that lid and if it wasn't sitting just right, it would vibrate a little bit and cause a little bit of noise. This one, it seems to fit a lot more snug, and I don't think we're going to have quite those problems. Not that it was a big deal. Ours, for the most part, never did that. You just had to take the time to make sure the actual lid was on snugly, like I said. But let's go ahead. We'll take a look at the basket and the media as well. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and assemble this thing. Nice thing is it does come with a lot of media. One of those pieces of media is a intake filter for your intake. So this is nice to have this intake sponge, I should say, for your filter. It is closed, and so that's a nice feature where we can go ahead and just slide this in here like this. And the bottom part is closed. I always recommend if you're going to get an intake sponge, if the bottom's not closed, the water's just going to go through the bottom as opposed to going through the filter itself, and then you've kind of defeated the purpose. So that's nice. It comes with the filter. I think at this point, all hang-on back filters should just include this part. It's extra filtration. It works out great. Here is the piece that I dropped on the floor before. You can see here, doesn't matter. It's very similar to what they had in the past in terms of the overall design. It just goes and slides just like this. Just like the old one does. You can put it in, snap it into place. Just like the previous filters, this thing is going to slide back and forth. It is going to give you some ability to control the amount of flow that goes through. I'll show you that in a few minutes when we get this on a tank. But right here, it just slides back and forth. Now, in the previous ones, the ability to control the flow was okay. I wouldn't say it was the best in the world, but it was decent. We're going to go ahead and see if this one is any different. The one nice thing, one of the things that Fluval is touting here is there is a recirculation system that is patent pending, and so as you slow the flow down, the water actually goes through the filter more times to get better mechanical and biological filtration. So that's a nice feature. So we've got that piece on here, and then our intake goes here. Nice thing is this is adjustable, so if you wanted to remove this middle piece, as we're probably going to do, because this is actually going to go on a 50-gallon lowboy, our multi-shell dweller tank, and so we're going to remove this center piece and just put the bottom piece on so that it's not bottoming out in that 10-inch tank. But if you've got a longer tank, you can see here, you've got a longer intake, so that's especially important for, let's say, your 29 gallons, your standard 20s, where this is going to go at least halfway down in those aquariums. If this were a 20 long, you'd probably want to remove this piece here because it's a little bit of a shorter tank. Certainly a 10 gallon, although they have the smaller Aquaclears for that. You could use it for that as well, especially with this reduced flow here. You've got the basket on the inside. It's got a similar, but not exactly the same. Another piece dropped off. I know what that is. That is the piece that's going to go in the back here. I'll show you that in a second. But this is a little bit different than what we've seen before. If you remember with the old Aquaclears, these two pieces here did not exist. It was one basket, and you would just pull out the filter media. But now this is going to have a specialized area where we can hold different types of media. I'll show you that as we put the media in this basket here. All right, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at the media. I've only got two hands here, so I'm gonna do the best I can. But here's the media basket or media box that came with the filter itself. This has always been something that people love, and the fact that Aquaclear gives you this nice sponge where it traps a lot of detritus. They've actually redesigned this sponge where it used to be 20 ppi, now it's 30. A little bit more porous, smaller holes. That's actually good for trapping more detritus, so I love that. Also included, we have both of our biological and our chemical filtration. So you're going to get this porous media here that is designed to house beneficial bacteria to accomplish the nitrification process. Ammonia to nitrite, nitrite to nitrate. By the way, if you don't know the nitrogen cycle, please check out that video in the upper right hand corner. I promise, as a fish keeper, it is something we should all know. And then here we've got our activated carbon, and both of these things already come in a filter bag. So I'll take this plastic off, obviously, before I put it in the filter, but there's also a filter bag. Not a bad idea to rinse this stuff off before you put it in the filter, because sometimes, especially the biomedia, that can sometimes release a little bit of cloudiness into the water. Not a big deal, but it's always best just to rinse these off after you take them out of the plastic bag. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how the water is going to flow. This is a 4-stage filtration system. First stage is going through the intake sponge here. That is pretty much mechanical filtration, although there is going to definitely be some beneficial bacteria here. So you're going to get both, but this is really stage 1. This is also really good for those of you who are breeding fish or you have shrimp. You don't really want your invertebrates or your fry getting sucked up into your hang-on back filter. So these are highly recommended. Also, if you have snails, especially mystery snails, they can get caught in the intakes of many hang-on back filters. And so water's going to go through here first. That's stage 1. Now, back to our little basket here. You can see here now, this is actually pretty cool. So check this out. Because you have, and I'm just discovering this as you are, because you have these two pieces here, for those of you who had the old Aquaclears, every once in a while, it was uncommon, but once in a while this sponge would start to rise up, and that in turn would make some of the other filter media rise up. Well, this is a self-correcting issue here, because now that we have these flaps here, that sponge is not going to rise up if it gets a little clogged. So, I am dropping many things today. Hold on. And I'm back. So now what's going to happen is you went through your stage 1, your intake. This is stage 2. Now this is designed, once again, it's going to capture a lot of detritus in the water. With these smaller pore sizes, with this 30 ppi sponge, you're going to get a lot more stuff trapped in here. These two pieces here are going to rest right on top. So they're going to look like this. And again, this is your chemical and biological filtration. You always want this stuff last because you don't want detritus clogging up your biological filtration, because the microbes that do the nitrification process, they're aerobic. And so if you trap them with a lot of gunk and detritus, they can't breathe and then they die. So this stuff is here. Now, if those of you who've been watching the channel for a while know, I don't necessarily, for me and the way that I set things up, I don't necessarily need this stuff. I'm going to leave it in here for demonstration purposes, but you could easily customize this. That's one of the benefits of the Aquaclear filters. I like to put filter floss up here, and I probably would put filter floss in both of these little mini chambers here and here, just because for me, the sponge and the intake sponge here, they're going to house plenty of beneficial bacteria, but you are certainly not doing anything wrong. Obviously, if you put these in here, that's the preferred way to do it. But I like to have the filter floss for the extra mechanical filtration. So that's how this all rests, and this is your 4 stages over here, your chemical and your biological filtration. This is all just going to slip right in back into your hang-on back filter. Again, hard to do with only 2 hands. And so this is going to rest just in here, just like this. And so now you've got a full 4-stage filter capacity. Again, we have our ability to adjust the flow here. The other thing that they've done is they have went ahead and they redesigned some of the motor components here. And this is supposed to be a quieter motor with a quieter rotor. That is really, really important. At some point, I would love to see Aquaclear and Fluval come out with a motor that's internal, like some of the other hang-on backs, but very easy to maintain. You would just twist this off just like the old Aquaclears. This thing, once you turn it, it turns right off. There's your impeller. Very easy maintenance, especially for those of you who have tanks that are a little bit overstocked. This thing will go right back in. I will say that the Aquaclears that we have right now, and we're running a couple of them in our fish room, the old Aquaclears have been very quiet, very, very durable, and I'm hoping and expecting that this particular filter is going to be just as quiet and just as durable as the filters that we have had in the fish room over the last couple years. The big Aquaclear 110, and there's an Aquaclear 70 floating around in here somewhere as well. So let's go ahead, let's get this on an aquarium. I'll show you what the flow adjustability is, and we'll finish up a few thoughts. Let's go take a look. All right, so here we are in the fish room. This is the 50-gallon lowboy. If you've watched the channel for a while, this is our multifasciatus tank. It is a shell dweller breeding aquarium. We have our Aquaclear AC50 on the aquarium. As I mentioned, I did take off this extension for the intake so that our sponge was not touching the sand, and so that should help keep sand out of the motor. I would not expect this filter to be self-priming like the Seachem titles, like the Quiet Flows, like the Marineland Pro series, because again, the motor's on the outside of the filter. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. We're going to see if it is quiet and how the flow looks. I will also adjust here the flow control and see what that does with the flow as well. So I just plugged it in and it is pulling water through the intake. Again, I did fill the back with water. And so we're going to go ahead. This is full flow right now, and so we can see here. Now, with this particular filter, the reason why I chose this lowboy is this is not an easy tank to filter. It is, again, it's a 50-gallon, so we're approaching the maximum limit here of what this filter was designed for, and it's a huge footprint. This is a 4-foot tank. It's 2 feet wide. It's only 10 inches tall, and again, it's got a relatively heavily stocked bioload. But this is where I put all of my smaller filters on. I really want to give them a workout. We had a Seachem Title 35 on here before, did just fine. Speaking of that, in terms of the flow here, you're going to get 200 gallons per hour. So this will be turning over this tank about 4 times per hour. I do have 2 sponge filters on this aquarium as well. Those are my main filtration. Really what I expect for my hang-on back filters on this aquarium is to do a really good job of mechanical filtration. And so that's what I'm looking for here. Now for the price of this filter, the prices I've seen on the internet right now, it's really not readily available. And so there's prices all over the place. What I would say is you'll be comparing this filter really to the Seachem Title 55. I've done a review on that. I will put that in the upper right hand corner if you want more information. The Seachem Title 55 is running 250 gallons per hour. Right now you can find those filters for around $46, $47. If this filter is priced similarly, it's certainly something that you should consider, take a closer look at. Again, when we're comparing the 2 filters, and I think the Seachem Title 55 is going to be the closest competitor, you could make an argument that the Seachem Title 35 would also be a very appropriate competitor for this size filter, or for this AC50. The things that it's not going to have compared to the Seachem, again, that external motor, I like that for a couple reasons. They're ultra quiet, and 2, those filters that have those internal motors are self-priming. This, I will be quiet. I'll put the camera up a little bit closer. It is making absolutely positively 0 noise, so that's great. Now let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take this filter, this intake, and I'm going to move it over as far as I can to the left. And you can see here we have reduced the flow a little bit. And again, the design of this filter is supposed to be such that we're getting some recirculation in here so that the water goes through the media more than one time when you reduce the flow the entire way. I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way up. I would say the adjustability is very similar to what we saw on the Aquaclears previous. You will have more adjustability on other types of filters that have a dedicated filter flow adjuster knob. This does a decent job. Again, it's reducing it quite a bit, as you can see here, but not quite as much as maybe some of the other filters on the market. But again, this thing, I expect it to run very, very well, and we're going to see how it does. So final thoughts, if you are an Aquaclear person, I think you're going to be happy with the improvements. I think you're going to be happy with that new basket. It is a very, very quiet filter. It is just as robust and just as sturdy as the old filters are. Again, at 200 gallons per hour, this is going to be more than sufficient for anything from a 20 gallon, probably up to a 29 gallon. I think the 40 breeders, you might be better off with the AC50, but this is designed to handle that 40 breeder, which by the way, is actually 47 gallons. And so real quickly, we're approaching that maximum capacity stated by the manufacturer for this filter. So if you're going 40 breeder or above, you might want to consider the AC50. We'll take a closer look at that filter in the coming months as well. As always, what we will be doing is I will be using this filter on this tank for the next probably 4 to 6 months, and somewhere around 6 months to a year, I like to do a long-term update, talk about my findings, talk about the pros and cons of the filter. No filter is going to be perfect, but again, the durability of the Fluval Aquaclear has been long-standing for many, many years. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you in the next one.